Hello class 7, welcome to the live class of 2021. Happy New Year to all of you. I'll be teaching you chemistry. Okay, so I don't want to waste my time talking about other things, so we'll straight away come to the class. So this year in class 7 we are going to deal with many chapters, and the first chapter would be matter and its composition. Chapter number 2 would be physical and chemical changes. Chapter 3, elements, compounds and mixtures. Chapter 4 would be atomic structure. 5, language of chemistry. We are talking about balancing of equation, writing formulae, chemical formulae and so on. And chapter number 6, metals and non-metals. And last but not the least, we'll talk about air and atmosphere. So along with it, we will talk about the structure and the atom, the atomic, the electronic configuration and so on and so forth. And I'm sure you have learned your symbols of elements, metals, non-metals and metalloids, and of course noble gases in class 6. If you have not, please revise the symbols and the names of different elements, metals and non-metals. I will be posting the names and the symbols of different elements in the WhatsApp group, so you need not worry about it. For those who have not learned it, please do it in a week's time, because it's very, very, very important for you to learn all these, the names, at least the names of elements, different elements, metals, non-metals, metalloids and noble gases, so that it would be easy for us to write the formulae of different compounds. I would be giving you the list, the valency chart also. Okay, I will tell you what valency is later on. So I'll be posting a valency chart. You have to learn it by heart. Okay, I'll be teaching you how to write the formulae and so on and so forth. So this year, chemistry will not be as easy as it was in class 6. Okay, so now we'll talk about the first chapter, that is matter and its composition. So you must have learned about matter in last year in class 6, and we'll talk about, in this chapter we will talk about definition of matter, the key concepts, the definition of matter. Number 2, matter has mass and occupies space. We are all aware of it. The composition of matter, and the most importantly, the arrangement of molecules in solids, liquids and gases. Okay, so now to start with the chapter, the first chapter, matter and its composition, we have to know what matter is. So we all know that you must have learned it in class 6, I'm sure, that matter is anything that has mass and occupy space. So anything that has mass and occupies space is called matter. So matter makes up all the materials around you. For example, the air that surrounds you, the food that we eat, the water that you drink, the sun, the moon and the stars are all made up of matter. So anything you can see, touch and feel is called matter. All right. So again, I want to come to the definition of matter. Matter is anything that has mass and occupy space. Now, let me tell you what mass is. So mass is the amount of matter that is contained in a body. I repeat, mass is the amount of matter contained in a body. All right, like for example, we measure, how do we measure mass? we use beam balance. Okay, you must have gone to the vegetable market, to the vegetable vendors, and you must have bought some vegetables. Like for example, we buy potato, 1 kilogram of potato. So what does the vendor do? He uses a beam balance. He uses a beam balance. In Nepali, we call it dhak taraju. All right. So we use a beam balance to measure. On one pan, we put maybe, let's say, 1 kg of weight, the iron weight, and on the other pan, we put the potatoes. Like suppose you are buying a potato, buying some potatoes, you will put potatoes in the next pan and make sure that the beam is horizontal. That means it is balanced now. So what would be the mass of the potato that you are buying? It would be 1 kilogram. Similarly, you can buy sugar, you can buy any other vegetable or any eatable you can buy using measuring the mass. Okay, it could be 1 kilogram or 10 kilograms or 1 ton or whatever. So what is mass? Mass is the amount of matter contained in a body. Now we come to the next word that we used in the definition of matter, that is space. What is space? Okay, the volume. What is volume? Volume is nothing but the space. So space occupied by the body is called its volume, right? So the volume you will study that in your physics class about volume. So like for example, the volume of the liquid is measured in liters. When we say 1 liter, or when we buy a bottle of water or a bottle of Coke, we buy half a liter of Coke or a half a liter of water, small bottle. If you have a little big water, like a little big bottle of water, then that is 1 liter, or 1 liter of milk, or 1 liter of oil. That one small packet of oil is 1 liter of oil. So we measure liquids in liters. That would be the volume of the liquid, the space occupied by the liquid. So anyway, so matter is anything that has mass and occupy space. Is that clear now? So what we have discussed about matter, the definition of matter, and the definition or the meaning of the word mass and the meaning of the word volume. So matter is anything that has mass and has volume or occupy space. Now there are some things that we say, but they are not matter. We talk about, but they are not matter. That would be, not everything is matter. For example, the heat. When we burn fire, it produces heat. The sun produces heat. That's the ultimate source of energy. Sun is the ultimate source of energy. It produces heat as well as light. Both heat as well as light, they are not matter. Similarly, electricity is not matter. They are all energy. Heat, light, sound. Sound is also energy, and it's not matter. Vacuum is not matter. The shadow that we see, they are not matter. So not everything is matter. So therefore, heat, light, electricity, sound, vacuum, and shadows, they are not matter because they do not have mass and they do not occupy any space. That is why these things, the heat, light, electricity, and so on, they are not matter. Now, the next topic we come to is the characteristics of matter. We already know from the definition that matter is anything that has mass. So, matter has mass. So, what is mass? As we have already discussed earlier, the amount or the quantity of matter contained in an object is known as mass. More the amount of matter, more will be the mass of the body, isn't it? So the body of a bear has a greater amount of matter than that of a mouse. Obviously, if we use a beam balance to measure my mass would be almost around maybe 65 to 70 kilogram, whereas your weight would be something around 35 to 40 or maybe maximum 45. So larger the body, the more will be the mass. Smaller the body, the lesser will be its mass. So I'm sure it's clear that the first characteristic of matter is matter has mass. And the other one, the next point is matter occupy space. So all materials occupy space. Okay, any matter, whether be it solid, the three states of matter as we already know, the solid, the liquid and the gas. Whether it is solid or a liquid or a gas, it will occupy space. Why? Because all these solid, liquid and gas, they are matter. That's why they occupy space. They have, in other words, they have volume. For example, if you put a stone in a glass filled completely with water, like we'll talk about Archimedes' principle in the higher classes. So suppose you have a glass filled with water up to the brim. You fill the water up to the brim in a glass and then you put a stone. All right. So what will you observe? We observe that the water will overflow. How much water will overflow? Whatever is the volume of the stone, same amount of water or the same volume of water will overflow. Or suppose you have a glass half filled with water and then you put a stone in it. What happens? The level of the water will rise. Isn't it? The level of the water will rise if you put stone. Now you take the stone out, the water level will fall. So how much level of water will rise? Would be the amount of level of water risen would be equal to the volume of the water that has risen would be equal to the volume of the stone or the solid. Is it okay? So it shows that suppose if you get into a tub full of water, that's what Archimedes did. So he wanted to take bath and then he entered into the tub filled with water. So what happened was the water overflowed, isn't it? So when the water overflowed, then he came to know that the volume of the solid would be equal to the volume of the liquid displaced. So we will talk about it in the higher classes. But anyway, so when we put the stone in the water, the volume of the water that will rise will be equal to the volume of the stone or the solid that you have put in the water. Is it okay? So this is because why does the level of the water rise, or if the water is up to the brim, the water will overflow? Why? Because the stone replaces the water to occupy its space in the glass. Things such as air, which we cannot see, also occupy space. So the space occupied by the matter is called its volume. Okay? So like for example, when you blow air in the balloon, the balloon will start inflating. It becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. Why? Because the more amount of air you put in, the size of the balloon increases. Means air. What is inside the balloon now? What are you blowing inside the balloon? You are blowing air. So because of air, the balloon will inflate. Will become bigger. That means air occupy space. Is it okay? So if you look at page number 3 and 5, you see a simple activity you can go through. You will understand it. Like the first activity tells us that matter has mass. And the activity 2 will talk about that same that I talked about a little bit earlier. In a glass of water, you put a stone tied in a thread. The level of the water will rise because the matter occupy space. In activity 3, in page number 5 in the textbook, you will see the two balloons. You have two balloons suspended in a horizontal. We have a ruler or a stick which is balanced in a fulcrum. This is the fulcrum, we have a balloon. We have the same size of balloon, and what will happen is it will balance. All right. Now what happens is, what do? You use a needle. You use a sharp needle to prick one of the balloon. The balloon will burst. The balloon will now burst. What happens? This arm of the ruler will fall downwards, and this will go up. Why? Because matter has mass. Because matter has mass. Is it okay? So now, let us discuss again what we have learned today. We have learned the definition of matter, the definition of mass, the definition of volume, and three of the activities to prove that matter has mass and matter occupy space. So we will continue with composition of matter and the arrangement of molecules in the three states of matter: solid, liquid, and gas, in the next class. Okay? So for a start, I hope you've understood whatever we have studied today. So if you have any questions, all of you I'm sure you have my WhatsApp number. You can always communicate to me through your WhatsApp or through the phone number. If you have any problems, please feel free to contact me. So with this, we come to the end of the class today. Thank you very much. Have a good day.